Andrew, after 150 episodes in the last 2 years, you still feel a need to write out your intro?
It's copied and pasted. It's almost like it's a habitual tick. It just goes at the top.
You were worried about forgetting, from New York.
Yes,
Details
that's fair.
matter.
That's fair.
Bobby.
I think it's a fair thing. But sometimes I space out and I have to look down and catch myself. And
What would you say the average amount of time into a show it takes you to space out for the first time? Is it less than 7 seconds? Is it before New York ends?
Yeah, sometimes. From New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental from the AT&T MLS studios in Midtown Manhattan. I am Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, David Goss, Matt Doyle, Bobby Warshaw. It is MLS Cup week, everyone. Welcome. How do you feel? Hyped? Jacked? Like you can get a ticket? And you can't because it's sold out. Seattle Sounders fans went in, season ticket holders, snatched it up, went to the general sale, got snatched up. We have a sellout. I think that means 72,000 people at CenturyLink Field on Sunday.
Is it 72,000 or 69,000?
I don't know. 69 would be nice.
I've seen 69,000 as their max, but I've seen that they could get up to 72,000 for the Super Bowl. That was the report that I saw. I didn't see if they can go with that configuration for a soccer game.
So you telling me you really done some homework? You've been on Wikipedia.
I read one article.
You have a little box on the top right corner that just gives you all the information quickly. That's the Matt Doyle box.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Listen, whether it's 69 or 72, there'll be two celebrities in that building. Ciara
what do you think?
And David Goss.
53.47 for 69 or 53.47 for 72?
Oh, my God.
Sunday, MLS Cup. It's the 24th edition, 3 p.m. Eastern. That's noon local time in Seattle. It's on ABC, Univision, TUDN in Spanish, and Canada TSN. TVAS, you already know, or you should know, and if you don't know, I can't help you. Seattle Sounders, Toronto FC. Third time in 4 years. We're running it back, baby. We got a big show for you. We have an idea straight from the brain of Bobby Warshaw. Credit where credit is due on this one.
Hold on. Let's pause.
We're gonna podcast scared.
Give it pause.
We do have mail about that, by the way.
Let people ruminate over what this could possibly be. Let their emotions hit them hard.
Okay.
And then we'll give it to you.
Gotcha.
I would like to give an applause to you for being willing to adventure into Bobby's brain with him, because if he approached me with the idea, I would have shut it down because I'm too scared to delve inside.
But see, when I'm scared, I take a step backwards and I formulate a plan. And oftentimes when you do that, that plan ends up working exactly the way you might have wanted it to in the end. And there's only one place that I want to go but not live, and that's Bobby's brain. I like to take little excursions in, back out slowly. We'll let you know what that is in a second. We do have some news around Major League Soccer. Let's just put it out there because it's a pretty big trade, I think. Nashville SC are building their roster, and Paul Tenorio is reporting straight from, I believe, paternity leave. So props to new dad Paul, which I don't think we've congratulated him about, that Nashville's got Dax McCarty in the bag and Dave Romney. And Dave Romney cost more, which is kind of incredible. None of this is official, of course. The trade window opens on November 11th. It's a couple days there. It's right around all the reentry drafts to help teams sort of move and shake ahead of that roster mechanism. But Paul is reporting that the Fire have sent their captain, Dax McCarty, to Nashville, per multiple league sources, for $50K in GAM, $50K in TAM, and a second-round draft pick, and then $225 in assorted allocation money for Romney goes to the Galaxy. What do we think?
Well, just to explain quickly why Romney might be more expensive, because you have to think about it in terms of total package. Money used to get the player, and then money you have to use to pay that player's salary. So Romney costs more allocation money, especially since it seems like allocation money will no longer exist. It'll just be straight dollar spent, dollar saved in 2020. Not to speculate about the CBA, but
we don't know what's going to happen. But
it seems like a fair guess with the way that things are aligning. Dave Romney is on $100,000 in compensation right now. Dax McCarty is...
He is, I believe he's above max. So
right, I think he's about 700.
Yeah.
So that's the point. So Dax of 700,000 plus 100 in allocation money is 800,000. Romney, 100,000 plus 250. He is still the cheaper player to acquire. You could still say that might not be a good value. I personally would pay way more than 100,000 to get Dax McCarty. It's the same thing that happened with Ozzie Alonso. When people questioned getting him to Minnesota, I would still take Dax for way more than that. But Romney is still technically the cheaper player.
And let me make this point about Nashville. I do feel like this is a slight overpay for Dave Romney, but and they overpaid as well for Anibal Godoy. But Anibal Godoy is 29, 30 years old. He's a World Cup veteran. He's been a pretty good player in this league for past 4 seasons or so. He wins the ball. He could pass the ball a little bit. And if you're going to play a 4-2-3-1 and you have Anibal Godoy and Dax McCarty as your deep-lying midfielders, and then you have Derek Jones, who's come back from injury, and he's played really well in USL, and everybody knows Derek Jones has a ton of talent. It's just a matter of can he get himself right in the head and get himself right to go out there on the pitch. Like, suddenly you have a deep-lying midfield trio who, like, I'm not going to say they're going to win you some games, but you're not going to lose games from that spot. And losing games from that spot is what killed Cincinnati this year, and I think what killed, frankly, Minnesota in their first 2 years. So the Dax McCarty, if you had told me they had gotten Dax McCarty and Anibal Godoy for $700,000 combined, I would be like, okay, that's pretty good. And as for Romney, let me just say really quick on Romney, I don't particularly rate him, but he's in his prime, he's got experience, and he's left-footed. Maybe they see something and they're like, you know what, if we can work with him, we could make him a value add at left center back.
Could play left back too, has done for the Galaxy. I just want to say that Anibal Godoy has seemingly lost some games. He's been not that good for the last year. So
that's fair.
So, there's that aspect of it.
Everybody on that Quakes team in 2018 lost some games. I actually thought he was pretty decent when he got on the field this year.
So the one thing I would say, though, is you compared Dax to Ozzy, and I think Ozzy obviously is a better player, but Dax hasn't missed a game basically in like 6 years. So you have a little bit more guarantee on this he played 32 games. He started 32 games this year. So you know he's going to be on the field, which as you're building a team and you talk about off the field stuff, right? Or mentality, culture, all those things. He's a constant that's going to be there. He's won in this league. So it was a guarantee that we had the conversation outside. FC Cincinnati didn't have a single player on their roster who you could guarantee could perform in Major League Soccer at the level you're going to get from Dax next year.
I think that's true, but there is, like you said, and it like jarred me a little bit. Dax is obviously not as good as Ozzy, and I think overall I agree with that. But Dax is maybe still the best defensive midfielder in the league of playing those third-line passes that split closing defenders into the pockets. And they just spent a lot of money on, I forget the
Rando Leal, Hani Mukhtar.
Yeah, Leal and Mukhtar. Yep. Like these are two attacking midfielders who need to get on the ball, and you don't want to be sending in a million crosses a game. So like they're going to play a 4-2-3-1. These guys are going to pop up in the pockets, and between Dax and Godoy, you have two guys who this is, I think, pretty good team building. On the flip side, for Chicago, they're cleaning house, man.
Yeah, what are they going to do with that cap space, with that money? That is the big question here. They have a quote-unquote restart headed into Soldier Stadium, Soldier Field, wherever the heck it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't watch NFL. Now I got to memorize that one. Yeah. We'll see what they do with it. TBD. Let us know what you think of these moves, Nashville fans.
You've been on the big screen, on the field at Soldier Field. Man, you're that famous. It doesn't even. You're like Ed Sheeran. Every stadium's the same when it's 70,000.
You know when the fans are and they're cheering your name and you're just out there.
Huge Ed Sheeran reference on the show.
That was coming.
I watched that Yesterday movie where everyone forgets the Beatles except the one guy who.
Was it decent?
No.
Okay.
But Ed Sheeran is a major character in it.
I just saw Ed Sheeran, I think, in the Modern Love thing on Amazon.
Oh, I haven't watched it.
And he was like a homeless drifter guy.
Nice.
Phenomenal show.
Terrible show.
Phenomenal.
I've read every single Modern Love column for like the last ever since it started, and it is terrible.
You didn't like that episode?
No, I hate it. That episode was one of the rare good ones. Okay,
have you watched Four Weddings and a Funeral yet?
Okay,
on Hulu.
All right,
it's so good.
Hey, guess what? Carlos Vela is your Landon Donovan MLS Most Valuable Player. He had 69% of the final vote. This show is just hitting on all cylinders here. Zlatan Ibrahimovic second. Joseph Martinez is third. Maxi Morales and Ever.
I want to know the rationale for anyone who chose anyone but Carlos Vela.
Here's the crazy thing. Media percentage. 63% of the media voted Carlos Vela. How is this possible?
23%.
The club executive, 64% voted for Carlos Vela. At least the players hit 80%, 80.33.
I would say the potential answer is that it's an easy way to win bonus points with people you care about.
Yeah.
So if you're voting in New York, right?
New York,
you know
New
that
York.
your vote doesn't actually matter. Vela is going to win. But if you vote for Maxi and you make your vote public, NYCFC and Maxi will appreciate that you gave them the shout.
Or just think you're.
So are you telling me
dunce.
that you think Brendan
Like,
Hannon earned
what?
23% of the media vote for MVP this
Brendan
year?
Hannon, he's
And Chris Glidden
senior
and
vice
Vicky
president.
Mercado.
now, or-
Brendan Hannon still has a Rookie of the Year trophy
Yeah,
from
for
all that
sure.
He's
Austin
got
Berry season.
yeah.
Well, now it looks like he got 23% of the.
I mean, that's wild. That's wild. I mean, the .66 players, Maxi and Eber. What? Okay.
So they split the NYCFC vote.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Carlos Vela, deserving. Is there anything left to say? Do you want to say anything about this, or should we just get to Bobby's bit in the game?
It's not a bit. I mean, it's an exercise.
Well, it's a good
thought exercise.
Okay, sorry. I should never have said bit because I know you don't like that framing.
Thought exercise.
Got it. I think that answers the question for me. Carlos Vela is your 2019 Landon Donovan MLS Most Valuable Player. We've waxed poetic about him all season long. He absolutely deserved it. A record-breaking season on all fronts, collectively, individually. It did not end the way they wanted to in the Audi 2019 MLS Cup playoffs, but it is an open question as to whether it will ever be matched in the future. All right, let's get to it. So we have some mail just to get us in the mood before we get this thing started.
Wait, you asked how if we're hyped, but you didn't let us answer.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
You shut Doyle down. You told him he couldn't buy a ticket right off the rip.
Oh, yeah.
Which Doyle now is still wounded from.
Well, Doyle's not going. He and I are going to be stuck here in the studio.
Is that
which
why
is a
we're more
positive thing.
excited about it?
I think maybe Matchday Central pregame and postgame shows obviously on Sunday, and then we have preview shows for you at 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday and Saturday. Iko Para will be here. Should be a good time. But yeah, that might be a reason, because if I was going to be there, I would be on cloud nine. I would be way up there to see Seattle and how they sort of just do this experience.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. I'll be in market on Thursday to watch the fans, to watch the buzz in the city. I've been to a couple big Seattle games, and they've never been in Seattle. So I'm excited to experience all of that. And on top of that, I don't know, being from the Northeast, the idea of like an outdoor cold championship game where it's like a bit miserable and everyone's like there for it, that I'm looking forward to.
Is it going to be cold?
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the 50s the entire week.
That's not cold. It's not cold. That's like temperate. That's beautiful. You could wear a hoodie.
I'm sorry. Last year was 72 degrees in the building because it was an indoor game.
Okay.
Okay, the years before that, it was, Bobby
those
and
were cold.
I had to amputate
50
fingers
50
afterwards.
degrees is not cold.
Oh, God.
It's
you guys are
beautiful.
so difficult.
Cold
You don't even
starts-
go outside for 4
cold
months.
starts.
You're going to be in Mexico next week for 3 months.
And he's like, it's a little bit, it's unseasonably temperate.
You
here in
whined about
Cabo."
moving to New York because it was so cold. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was his leverage.
Yeah. So, yes, I'm
I don't
extremely
know.
excited. I'm on an 8 right now because I need to leave space. Otherwise, I'll blow through to 15 if I start on a 10. So I'm on an 8 out of 10 right now. I'll be at 11 on Sunday.
Bobby, you're a man of numbers. Rate your MLS hype.
I would say I'm a 9 to a 10 to be in Seattle for this event and the fan base and everything this city has done for their team. I would say I'm a 4 or 5 for the game. Just 3 times in 4 years, especially now I don't find either of these teams to be at their best of where they were in those 4 years. So 9.5 for the experience, 4.5 for the game itself.
Do we agree on his game rating? Because I'm still trying to work my way up out of the it's not this again, because I know that people are going to really react negatively to that. It's just sort of I wanted a little bit of freshness in some of the stories and people and narratives. I know we have that. You made that point, Dave.
Wiebe
There
and
is
his
some
narrative.
difference.
Yeah.
But it just,
Endless.
I'm going to spin
Michael
this week.
Bradley's contract's a narrative.
That is a great narrative. That's my favorite narrative, maybe. So Paul
Why?
and Sam, because it's just
I agree. A+ narrative.
it's just like it's
guys
six. It's like a game show, man. It's like you had these long odds, and you got to the end of who wants to be a 6.5 millionaire, and now Michael Bradley is maybe going to get that. And it might. And it what?
Let me simplify this for you. Would you pay $6.5 million for a championship?
Sure. Yeah.
Boom. Done. It doesn't matter. Next year doesn't matter. The year after doesn't matter. TFC paid $6.5 million for a championship. That's easy.
By the way, the reporting here is the Athletics' Paul Tenorio and Sam Stejskal saying that if Toronto win MLS Cup, automatic trigger on Michael's option.
Speaking of Toronto, it was the same with Kawhi Leonard. Would you trade X for a championship? And they did, and they won, and that's all that matters. What are the odds you're going to get back? Who cares?
I'm more thinking about the fact, as an individual, as a professional player, what would it be like to take the field for the national anthem, knowing that a win did not give me a $5,000 win bonus.
Right.
Did not
$5.5 million.
Yeah, it didn't trigger like a half games played $25,000 bonus. It was I'm set for life money.
Well, I mean,
those 90 minutes.
And he's already made set for life money too in his years in Toronto, probably. I mean, I assume that if anybody strikes me as like a conscientious investor, it's Michael.
Also, he's been living the U.S. dollar in Toronto lifestyle.
That's not bad.
He could live paycheck to paycheck and be putting away 25% of what he makes.
6.5 is good, but I didn't think about that. Like taking the field here in the national anthem, you have all this pride. You're like, you know what? We turned Toronto into something special in MLS. They were just bottom of the barrel, and
suddenly Wu-Tang starts playing.
A little cream. Start dreaming of, I don't know, caviar and PJs.
Do we think Michael Bradley, speaking of being frugal, lets his kids buy the real leather for their youth soccer boots or the fake leather? You guys know what I'm talking about.
Well,
you go as an 8-year-old.
Come on, Mike's not getting it. He's not buying those cleats. He's got a deal.
Right, but he's gonna.
You see his kid in the backyard shooting on goals and like,
Fair.
you know, he's got the
Nike also
the
said the kids might be on the Nike deal.
Yeah, when I got the kangaroo leather, I remember that day though, Bobby. You and I. Same mindset here. All right, here we go. Some person on Twitter said this. This is for you, Bobby, to get us in the mood. Bobby had an excellent performance on the latest episode. I feel he must have feared Andrew Wiebe, David Goss, and Susanna Collins and really upped his game plan. Way to go, Warshaw. And then Peter Cooper in Seattle says, the definition of fear is, quote, an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous. It means being afraid. But it is possible to acknowledge that LAFC is a better side that requires a different approach without being afraid. It's possible to be prepared and confident without having been afraid. Bobby is describing courage. Peter is from Seattle, which is bravery in the face of hardship. So no, the
brave
Sounders
Sir Robin bravely ran away.
for sure.
Brave Sir. Yeah, that's a good reference.
Fear
there.
certainly breeds courage. And what I'll say is
Why do you have to button your shirt for this?
Every day, because it gives me more courage. A button shirt gives me more courage. Every day I come on this show, I know that I need to perform, right? If I don't perform, Matt will say something that shoots me down. You guys, Susanna, Kalen, will say something. I will look bad. I'll look bad and embarrass myself. I will have to then face the bosses, right? Knowing that I have not done a good job. So yes, I enter everything with a certain understanding that I need to perform at a certain level. Put this way, the Seattle Sounders haven't for 3 or 4 years. They've had more talent. They have not had to prepare in a certain way. It has worked for them. When you have more talent, you can let it go out and play a certain way, as Brian Schmetzer does. He has managed those individuals and that talent well. But yes, when you know you have to play or do a certain thing, you will prepare differently.
By the way, the end of that email from Peter Cooper was, I liked the rest of your analysis, though, Bobby. So he did have some kind words. Let's get right to it at this time for a little MLS role-playing. Who will be Brian Schmetzer? Doyle or Warshaw? We will assign one of you the role.
Why is Gassman not?
No, because David and I we're like the media and or players in the locker room.
Well, just if we're being honest, I'm really a Swiss Army knife of an actor. I have so much range.
Right.
So it's wasted on me to lock in one role where I can really start to shift and move from here.
You're a little more flat.
Yeah. I could be Josie in 1 second, and then on the other side, I could be Stefan Fry.
Okay.
Right.
So now I'm speaking
You're
Swiss
like a Philip
German.
Seymour
And then-
Hoffman type.
Yeah. Late in the game,
R.I.P.
you didn't see it coming, but all of a sudden he's Nick De Leon.
Boom.
You have no idea what's happening.
I'm a big game player.
I am going to,
DC.
Brian Schmetzer and Bobby. I think, you know what? You're Brian Schmetzer, Doyle. So Bobby can go against you as Greg Vanney. We are making these assignments. Please take on your roles. I need you to, what's happening here? Yes. Good call. Scarf him up. A scarf for Doyle. Sounders for you. Please pull it on. In honor of Siggy Schmidt, who we all loved and rocked a scarf very well on the sidelines.
We did.
David clearly has not seen Greg Vanney's scarf. David, come on.
Yeah,
Here, bro.
Greg Vanney's scarf is more of a designer version. So here's what the game is. You guys are going to play your respective coach, and we're going to take you through MLS Cup week all the way through the game, and then after the game, and maybe have a post-game victory press conference. You will play the role of your coach.
God.
So really, get yourself into that role. Who's the actor? And I'm bad with actors. Who?
Jared Leto or
Daniel
whatever?
Day-Lewis. You are both Daniel Day-Lewis. So you become.
Oh, you meant an actual good actor.
Yes. Become Brian Schmetzer Doyle. Become Greg Vanney Bobby. Yes.
Yeah.
You'll need to grow
Bobby, you
about 4
probably
more
should have
inches
worn a
on your
suit.
hair there.
And a little bit tighter.
Not enough flow.
So MLS Cup week has begun. Let's go to the mind of Brian Schmetzer. Brian, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? What's going through your head this week, both big picture emotionally as well as nitty-gritty as you begin to prepare for Toronto FC and a final in your building?
Well, I'll tell you, I just have no idea what to do with my team this week until I read what Bobby Warshaw writes on MLSsoccer.com. So I'm at a loss.
Well, we don't have Bobby here. Unfortunately, Bobby
you can call
is no
Bob
longer,
Bradley if you want to talk to him.
Unfortunately, Bobby is no longer on this show. Greg Vanney is here, and there's that.
Looking at how do I have to stay in character?
Yes. That could be good.
Well, boys, we know how we did it against LAFC. We were compact. We didn't take a lot of risks. We said we're going to take the chances where they beat themselves and make the most of them, and that's exactly what we did. We know we have the talent to do that against anyone, but we're at home, and we have 70,000 people in the building, and if you look at the way we've been playing at home, we're not going to be the team that sits back. We're not going to be the team that lets someone else dictate the game, because this is our stadium. It's not the Seahawks stadium. It's certainly not Toronto FC's stadium. This is our home, and we're going to win a championship. And we're going to do that by using the ball, because frankly, guys, they cannot defend us. They just can't do it. And we're going to do what we always do. We're going to overload that left side. Brad, you're going to get forward. Nico, you do whatever you need to do. Jordan, find those half spaces, but then as soon as Toronto comes up just a little bit, you have to be hitting through the lines. We want you to extend the field. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to win second balls. We're going to get ourselves a 2-0 win.
Brian, are you at all concerned, member of the media here, about the fact that Matt Pence here?
Mm-hmm. Boy, we're giving the Athletic a lot of plugs.
Yeah,
today.
we're giving him too much.
Mickey Turner?
Ari.
Is that a Seattle writer?
No, Ari Lilwell.
Yes.
There you go.
Ari deserves a raise.
Yes. So, that's all well and good, but you nearly lost, maybe should have lost to FC Dallas playing that way. And I think we can probably say that Toronto FC, especially should they have Josie, will have more talent. Do you think that that's a risk worth taking, despite the fact I believe that it's been 11 straight home wins in the playoffs for the Sounders? Might this be your undoing if you try to come out and play against Toronto FC?
That might be our undoing if we sit in and we invite them forward for the entire game. Of course, you have to be cognizant of what they're doing with their line, what they're doing with their fullbacks. But, boys, you saw the Atlanta game as well. Anytime Toronto came more than 40 yards from their goal, either Joseph Martinez or P.T. Martinez or Ezekiel Barco or Julian Gressel, or all four of them were getting behind that Toronto back line. So no, I'm not afraid of them coming up and having more of the ball, and I'm certainly not afraid of them counterattacking us. Toronto FC haven't scored a counterattacking goal in almost 2 months. This team has nothing on the break. They just don't have any kind of speed for it, unless Richie Larea isn't. Then we might have to adjust some things, but I'm pretty sure if he comes in, we'll find that space in behind him, and our friend Jordan Morris will get to work.
We ready to go to Canada?
Yeah. Oh boy.
He's not Canadian.
No. Yeah, he's not. He's from like SoCal. I'm pretty sure.
Are you really gonna do it? Are you really gonna do an accent?
Okay.
Greg.
Wow. You said Greg with such disdain there. Take the floor, Greg. It's the beginning of MLS Cup week. You've been to a lot of finals.
You've done this twice before, but this time a little different. Going on the road, a longer layoff before. What has your week been like? How do you feel?
I'm going to ignore all those questions.
Cool.
Okay.
Go for it.
And just give my team talk.
That sounds like an MLS coach, so it's fine.
The Seattle Sounders, as I suspect Brian Schmetzer is saying over in that locker room, beat LAFC by playing against the ball. They were defensive. They were disciplined. They tried to capitalize on mistakes. But as I also suspect Brian Schmetzer is saying over in that locker room, they are not going to do that today. They are at home. They will feel like they have more talent and like they are the superior team and that they can win this game as the protagonist who controls the ball. But I'll tell you what, they are not good enough to do it. They are a good team, but they are not good enough to both control the ball and control the game and winning the game doing that way, because we are perfectly fine on the road playing defensive just like we have the last 2 weeks. And today we're going to be a little bit smarter about it. Is Josie Altidore fit and healthy?
No.
Well, he is
Interlude,
what he
interlude.
is. Greg, you should know this.
Yeah, it's your decision.
Okay.
You really should
sorry.
know this.
Okay,
Greg.
you're right. So Tsubasa Endo, you are going to come out of the lineup. Okay. Omar Gonzalez, you are going to come into the lineup. Josie, we're going to hold you out. I don't want you pulling up limp in the first 30 minutes. Maybe we'll bring you on as a sub. So Endo out, Omar Gonzalez in. We are going to play 5 in the back. Omar Gonzalez, Chris Mavinga, Laurent Simon. On the left is going to be Justin Marr. On the right is going to be Aro. In front of him, 3 center midfielders. And sometimes we have our 3 center midfielders and have 1 or 2 of them step forward. Not today. Not today. We're going to have 5 defenders and 3 flat center mids, because if you have ever watched the Sounders team play, their biggest offensive threat is in the wide overloads. So we are going to give the wide center backs and the wide center midfielders, Marquis Delgado and Jonathan Osorio, license to go and help out wide. We are not going to get overloaded. We are going to go match up, if not numerical superiority. And if we give away the middle, that is fine, because the Sounders have not shown that they can beat anybody going down the middle. So we are going to ride our 5-3-2 with Pozuelo and Benazet up top and wait to play on the counter, because we might not have been great, but the Seattle Sounders send so many numbers forward at home that our chances will come.
Now, you famously over the last 2 games have come out, though, and pressed in moments to throw the other team off. You have not sat and defended for a full 90 minutes or maybe plus stoppage time against other teams. Is there no element of you that feels like that was the reason your teams were able to win, because you didn't defend for a full 90?
Andrew or David, we're just a generically good team.
It's good if you
I know.
confuse us.
He's playing.
It's very professional of you.
Anywhere he can be, he's playing it.
We're just a generally smart team. So yes, we're going to start with a pressing line of confrontation. We are not going to let the Sounders play out easily. But where other teams get messed up is they try and chase once they get a little disorganized. So we're going to try and disrupt the Sounders early, up at the top of their 18. If they break us at all, we're fine dropping back into our set of 8, our 5 and 3 with our 2 strikers ready to counter. So yes, we're going to press a little high, but mostly for disruption, not as the main function of our tactic today.
Are you concerned at all about breaking up a back line and changing a back line? Yeah. That's been successful so far. I mean, but you are Greg Vanney, and so tactical change, unexpected
back line for a final is your expertise.
Formation shift is not new to you.
David is alluding to in 2017 when I went away from
Who's David?
David Haas. David Haas?
I don't know. You're
David
playing
Haas.
a lot of roles. I don't know who you are at this point.
Currently, I'm Kurt's not there anymore.
No.
I'm who's in Toronto?
Joshua Cloca.
I'm Josh.
Yeah.
You're alluding
The
to
Athletic again.
Yes.
Jeez, Wiebe.
I'm sorry.
You're
Are they
alluding
paying you?
I wish.
to 2017.
Good.
Can I just be Pablo
Venmo,
Maurer the whole time?
Andrew Wiebe.
Pablo's the coolest of them, for sure.
You're alluding in 2017 when I went to a 4-4-2 diamond for the final and surprised. That is what you're saying, that I don't mind switching it up. Am I concerned about disrupting the ideas that have won me 3 playoff games? Yes, I am, Andrew. Of course I am concerned. Of course I have a little of uncertainty. Maybe you call it fear, because I know that the Seattle Sounders are a very good team, and that is the natural right emotion to have against a good team, but it has led me to a logical conclusion that I feel like is our best chance to win today's game.
Okay, Brian, you've seen the lineup come out. You see this 5-3-2 that Greg Vanney has put together. You have some lineup decisions yourself to make. You're mulling over Xavier Arriaga or Roman Torres. Who are you going with, and how does your chosen formation and tactical identity and lineup and approach match up with what Greg here has put out against you?
No, I'm Brian Schmetzer. You know my chosen formation and lineup. It's a 4-2-3-1. That's my strength as a coach. I put my team out there in the same lineup week after week after week. My guys are completely comfortable in their jobs and their roles. Now, there has been a little bit of variation this year. We've played much more against the ball on the road, but we still mostly have it at home, and I'm convinced that FC Dallas performance, that was kind of an aberration. That was a very good, very well-drilled team playing with a lot of desperation. I'm not sure Toronto is going to throw caution to the wind like that. As for Xavier,
I think it's Xavier, yeah.
Xavier Arriaga, the young man won the job. We put him in the toughest time of the year against the best teams in the league. He has shown that he and Kim have a really good partnership, and both of them are brave to play through a first line of pressure. And that's one of the things about my Seattle Sounders teams, boys. One of the things that's not appreciated is that our center backs are really, really good at eliminating that first line of pressure, and that gets you to the point where Gustav Svensson, Christian Roldan, and especially Nico Ladero are suddenly on the ball in midfield, if not necessarily numbers up, but in an even numbers situation. And I like those odds. Now, there are some observers of the league out there who maybe didn't quite appreciate that during the season when Gustav in particular was not available. We had to go with a different look. We had different personnel in there. Jordi Delem, a good player who will break up play, but he doesn't have that that range of passing and that precision in terms of his distribution, his timing, his ability to get us into positions where we can hit those wide overloads. But Gustav's back, and Gustav showed exactly what he can do against LAFC on both sides of the ball. So I don't think there are a ton of decisions for me to make. I think the good thing about this team and the culture is that the players make the decisions by showing up and playing and winning the job, and that's what my boys have done.
I know you said all of what you just said, and I think, by the way, right now the Academy Award is leaning in this direction of the table. Minus the scarf play. Maybe you'll get costume design.
Yeah.
But Jovan Jones, Victor Rodriguez, is there any decision-making in that, or is it Jones once again?
I mean, you dance with the girl who brung you. And Jovan and Jordan as inverted wingers in these playoffs, they haven't set the world on fire with the goal scoring other than Jordan in that first game. But, boy, we sure have looked good defensively, and not necessarily convinced that's an accident. And the nice thing about having Victor, especially off the bench, is that he gives us a very different look. Now, the natural thing to do would be to remove Jovan or switch him to left back if it comes to that, and put Victor as a left inverted winger and push Jordan out right. That gives Jordan a little bit more of a mandate to just be a pure direct player, which we know is still his best role. And as for Victor, he almost functions as another number 10. And this is one of the things I'm looking at. If Toronto gets pushed back into that shell and they make us break them down with the ball, well, I like the idea for those final 30 minutes of the game. You bring Victor on, and you put him in those half spaces, and you get him and Nico interchanging a bit. Make Michael Bradley come out and chase them, because Michael Bradley, he will come out and chase. He doesn't just sit there, and he's not as good a ball winner as he used to be. So if you're able to get him over there and then reverse it to the right side, with maybe Christian coming through with a late run, then you're in a pretty good position, aren't you?
All right. Brian Schmetzer, laying it out for you, Greg. We're in game right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kickoff. We're going. MLS Cup 24. Are people saying that? Do we do that? It's like the NFL, Super Bowl, XX, whatever. We don't ever do that, do we?
We absolutely
And I've been thinking, MLS Cup 24 here. Yeah. Okay, what you see how Seattle are coming out. They're trying to do what Brian says here is the game plan. Mm-hmm. Who are your X factors? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? How are you responding? How is the game playing out in your mind?
Nicolas Benazet. You think
that's how he talks?
Greg?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Okay.
In game,
all right.
He gets that little flair.
Okay.
He'll say, who's playing left center back? It's not Roman Torres. It's Xavier Arriaga. What does Arriaga do? He kicks you. Shade to that side. It'll be our right side, their left side. Brad Smith is going. We don't need you, Nicolas Benazet, to defend. You're at the top of the 5-3-2 to hit people on the counter. Brad Smith goes forward. Xavier Arriaga, who will definitely take fouls and yellow cards, go to that side. Get a touch by him. Let him kick you like he has kicked everyone else. Let him take his yellow cards and then try and play on a caution for the last 70, 80 minutes.
There you go.
Okay, let's say it happened. Arriaga gets the yellow card.
Mm-hmm.
Play this thing out for me. How do you guys think, head coaches, and you can maybe take your hats off if you want, that after you've set this up in your chess match, this game might play out?
Go ahead, Bobby.
Do you have something you want to say? Because I have a thought here.
Go.
I would just say that for me, Toronto are the team that is more comfortable taking this to the 60th, 70th minute with a draw. I know what Matt's saying about if Seattle gets pushed back, or if Toronto gets pushed back, which they probably will get pushed back at 70 minutes if it's 0-0 or 1-1, and Victor Rodriguez is a nice card to bring on here. But if you look at the bench options, which with Richie Larea coming off the bench and Nick De Leon or a Tsubasa Endo or a Gallardo or even a Josie, that for me, Toronto will feel much more comfortable come 65 minutes with a draw and the chance of changing the game.
Do you think, now you're Bobby, do you think that they will get there? Because the key to that is getting there with that draw.
I do. I mean, if they are properly organized, and let's be clear, they have not been properly organized so far in the playoffs. They won because they did some funky things that threw the opponent off, but they have not been able to sit in proper shape in a mid or low block. They need to fix that for this game, but if they do, then the question in my mind is, can the Seattle Sounders unbalance them by using the ball? And the Sounders are very good about hitting a side and overloading, but if we already take that away, us being Toronto, then the Reds should feel good about keeping Seattle off the board.
Bobby's lost in who he is right now.
I know, Bobby's
Toronto
swimming.
coach,
He's
fan, media member. He doesn't know. I agree with Bobby, though. For Toronto, if they come out and that's how they choose to play, and they're able to do it from the first 10 minutes, not get thrown off early, I think you'll feel the environment change in the stadium. It's something Toronto experienced in 2016 in the reverse of you feel that tension, you feel the nervousness. Every time a half chance comes, you start to wonder, is that the last one? And now Seattle starts to get a little panicked. They start to change the way they play because Toronto's not giving them the options they normally see, and Victor Rodriguez is the obvious move
But
there.
isn't that what we thought Toronto was going to do at NYCFC?
Yeah.
Toronto came out in that game and just put their foot on NYCFC's throat.
But one of the things, I agree. One of the things I wonder, though, is one, NYCFC hadn't won a postseason. They've won one postseason game, so it's a different atmosphere. And two, they were coming off 3 days rest and 120 minutes. And I wonder if Greg Vanney said, we can't go out there. I can't roll them out there and just play because we don't have the legs to get through this. I need to throw a curveball to give my team a little bit of an advantage to change the way this game plays.
So why not use that curveball again for MLS Cup? Especially because, look, we just did this whole back and forth, but I think we all probably agree that this is a game where the big question is, like, who's going to have the ball? Does either team really want to actually have the ball? So
the Sounders do. Hold on. The Sounders want to. There's no doubt in my mind that they are going to want to be the attacking front foot squad in this game. Is there any doubt in your mind?
Mm-hmm.
I think the major revelation of this season was the Seattle Sounders accepting somewhere around 2/3 in that they weren't the same freewheeling attacking side that they tried to be for multiple years.
Yeah,
and it was shocking. And now you're going to tell me MLS Cup at home when they are fully healthy against a beaten up Toronto team, when they are just riding them after one of the biggest wins in MLS history, that you're going to tell me that
how did they get that win?
I don't think it matters, right? It doesn't matter. That this is a team that sees themselves as a full-on attacking.
I'm not sure they do anymore.
Expound.
Yeah, I mean, they went to the Church of Pragmatism somewhere in early August, late July, and they said, we can't do this. And they were like, if you look at their record after, Chad Marshall retired. And then obviously a big chunk of that was Svensson and Roldan being out as well. Like they weren't able to use the ball at all through most of the season. Now, as they got healthier, as they got guys back, they ended up being pretty good with it, but it's still not their forte. They're a counterattacking team. They just destroyed LAFC. And granted, they destroyed LAFC. I don't think it's a given that they're going to come out and say, give us 60% of the ball because we absolutely know we're going to ram it down your throat. I don't think it's a given at all. Now, maybe they will because they will feel that pressure to be like, this is our house, 70,000 people, MLS Cup, let's show the world what we're about. But it's it might be that their better chance is to just put numbers behind the ball and try to get Toronto to be a little bit indisciplined with that line, because we saw it against Atlanta United. As soon as Toronto moved their line up, Atlanta was off to the races every single time.
I would, though, bet in this game, if both teams come out and say we don't want the ball, the team that starts to sneak forward first and take the spaces is Seattle. With those fullbacks, the way they've played all year. I mean, I don't even think Brad Smith knows where his own goal is. Like, he's going to be in the attacking half the entire time. That over the course of it, and especially with the crowd and the atmosphere, because I think the Toronto one's obvious.
Right.
I think Toronto's going to come out and play how Greg Vanney said they were going to play, even though he has done other things throughout this postseason, not in this game, not after they're rested, not if Josie can't start. I think Seattle will struggle to keep themselves away from it. And that is one of the things we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years with them is when Lodeiro gets on the ball and starts feeling confident, they push numbers forward whether they're choosing to or not, whether that was the plan going into the game or not. And Morris starts to get space and the crowd gets behind them and they start to throw everything forward. And we've seen them lose games where they get hit in the counter in those games. And I would argue that they went into them not planning to do that, and it just happens to them.
Is there any element of 2016 deja vu again in this, in the sense that Josie's out, Clint Dempsey was out for the Sounders, like roles reversed, where Toronto had the burden on them because they were at home.
Yeah.
Flip side is Seattle knew they didn't need the ball, so they didn't want it. Like, is it sort of a reversal with a star out, with the roles flipped? Like, and then I wonder, are we going to get a good game?
Do I still have to wear this?
No, you don't. You don't. Are we going to get a good game? Do you guys think this will be a good game for a neutral observer, or will this be cagier? Take that, Anders. Seattle scarf went flying. Brian Schmetzer would never do that.
I do think it's going to be a good game. The last point on that last conversation, Andrew, is when you're watching the game, we talk about who wants to have the ball, right? No team says we're just going to kick it back to you, but there's little decisions. And I would say the two to focus on in this game is the activity of the outside backs. If you want to be a team that passes the ball in soccer, you have to have your outside backs get involved, whether it's stretching the field forward or just presenting themselves as an option. The most reactive defensive decision you can make, the simplest one, is just have your outside backs hold because you don't get countered. And number two is the decision-making of the defensive midfielder, in this game, Michael Bradley or Gustav Svensson, on the ball. Are they looking forward for long diagonals to a winger, or are they looking for short passes through the middle? If you're looking for short passes through the middle, that tells me that you're a team that wants to control the ball on that day and you're willing to take more risk because those passes on the ground through the midfield are the ones that can turn to transitions. So back to the question, Andrew, about will it be a good game? I do think it'll be a good game, but I don't have a logical reason. I think that's just the hope inside of me that these 70,000 people or 69,422 people at CenturyLink Field will just will it into being an entertaining product.
Personally, I think that games where you know what's at stake and they're close are exciting and fun, no matter how it plays out.
Champions League final last year would have said otherwise between Tottenham and Liverpool.
But those two teams are from England, so it didn't count.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
So I would say that will bring the environment along with a little bit of the history, and then just the personalities, like the experience, the quality on the field, along with the storylines that you love so much. For Nico Lodeiro, for Michael Bradley, for Omar Gonzalez, whoever else is out there, Stefan Fry. So I think there'll be quality, and I think the emotions will be where they need to be in a game like this. So the energy will be there, and so you start to get an experience where every half chance and every little thing gets the crowd on their feet, and it creates the environment, which I think will cause a fun final.
Okay, so here's my question to you. Who is the more likely match winner? A star or a Nick De Leon type player?
I mean, I think your odds are like no duh. You got to go star, right? Like those are just the odds. Like period. Those guys are more likely to be that player because Raul Ruiz is more likely to be in the box with an opportunity to shoot than basically anybody else on the entire field.
Who got the game winner for the Sounders against RSL? Gustav Svensson. Who's gotten the two big plays for Toronto? Richie Larea and Nick De Leon.
Not totally though, because like Pozuelo caused the rebound that Delgado scored off of for a reason, though. You know, like the big players have still been there.
Who's more likely to be the game winner?
Josie Altidore.
Okay, let's dig into that one because we haven't.
We should talk about. It's right. Like, is it a given that if Omar's healthy, he starts? Is it a given that Josie's going to be healthy? Because right now he's saying it would take something of a miracle for him to be.
Let's start. Okay. Did he say a miracle? He said it's a final.
Something of a miracle.
Oh, really?
That's more recent than what you're thinking.
Yeah. Is it? Yep. They just came out with that.
Yep. He said that
because Greg Vanney saying,
me.
Oh, okay. Greg Vanney was saying like, oh yeah, it'd be hard. Josie, it's hard to keep me out of a final. Which, as you pointed out, he also said about the first round. Okay, let's start with Omar. Do you start Omar? I would think yes. What was the point in if he's healthy, which he has been seemingly? I would think yes.
Well, you were about to ask what was the point of getting him then. The point would be Simon was playing poorly, and now you could argue he's playing better. Right? The point of bringing Omar in was Simon wasn't a starting level center back.
I would just take Omar.
Now you've won 3 playoff
I would
games
take Omar.
with him.
I would take Omar. It's a better team.
Like
One
for
mistake
like?
does you in. I
Or
would rather have Omar in there because I think Simon does chase a little bit, and in a game like this, I would feel more secure.
Ask yourself this though, which would help make it a more entertaining game.
Simon starts, and Aurelien Colin in a late
Well, Bobby,
deadline day move.
you think that Toronto FC are going to play with 3 in the back, so they both start.
So they're good.
Yes, I would be surprised if they didn't do that. Based on Vanney's history, what makes sense for this lineup, what makes sense for this game. I
So
understand
Omar in the middle and Simon at
on the right.
right center back.
That makes
That
sense.
against that left side overload.
I mean, then what? It's either that or you just send Omar by. If you see when you put Omar in for Simon, then it's just Omar by himself over there with Aro. So that's not a better solution, right? I mean, what the Sounders do over there is legitimately good. There's no perfect answer, but for me, the better of the options is the 3.
Okay, let's assume that Omar and Laurent Simon are getting the start. Josie Altidore, we do not think he will start this match. We don't think there's any way that he can start this match based on that quad issue that he's having.
So let's just say we think the best he can do is 30 minutes. If he is healthy and available, why not just start him? Why not come out and press, start him for 30 minutes, play, see if you get up 1-0, and then sub him out? Boom. I know it won't happen, and I know it's a curveball, but the point would be in a game like this, if you hit them early, which is what they tried to do against NYCFC and Atlanta, you hit them early. If Josie's not going to be good, you bring him off the bench in the second half, you then probably have to sub him again in extra time if you get there.
I really like this idea.
Yeah. This is a very Bobby Warshaw moment for me.
I'm pretty into this.
Play him at left back.
Yeah, exactly. But it makes sense, and then you bring Benazet off the bench, and then you play him for 60.
You guys should do Josie on Thursday. We just don't know what conversation can we have right
That's
now
fair.
until we get more
That's a good
information.
Okay, we'll see what information we get. Who's the X factor? You kind of mentioned Nick DeLeon. Before we get out of here, I want to know who you guys think is the guy who, if it's not a star, is most likely to turn the game on its head. We're calling it the Nuhu Tolo player to watch.
I mean, De Leon and Larea are like they've been the match winners for Toronto FC so far in the playoffs. It was Larea got the game winner against DC, drew the game-winning PK against New York, NYC, and then De Leon, of course, got the game winner at Atlanta. It's pretty good. But I think of anyone who's coming off the bench who could be considered an X factor at this point, it's Victor Rodriguez because Toronto has a lot of trouble. Sometimes they often have trouble getting pressure to the ball in the half spaces. They're just not as crisp doing that. We saw multiple times Barco and PT just going right past Michael Bradley, putting Marky Delgado into position where he was just like recovery run after recovery run, forcing tough decisions out of that back line. Chris Mavinga has been awesome, by the way. And Atlanta, despite all their talent, aren't particularly good at it. It's just not, for whatever reason. When Victor Rodriguez and Nico Ladero and Christian Roldan, who's super clever off the ball and attack, when those 3 guys are on the field together, Seattle is so good at that. They are like the reason that left side overload was so good at the start of the year was because those guys were holding it sort of in the pocket and forcing the opposing team to throw numbers at that. And then all of a sudden you're releasing Brad Smith on the overlap and then you're getting pullbacks or he's dribbling straight into the box. Like I think Victor Rodriguez is going to come off the bench and change this game.
We can agree that best case scenario is Nuhu scoring a 90th minute winner.
100%. Bicycle kick on a clearance. That's what I'm looking for.
I am all in on Richie Larea doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, maybe not as wildly entertaining and unpredictable, but
That's fair.
yeah. All right, we'll see what happens. Big game, 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday.
Big game.
Big game, ABC, Univision, TUDN, TSN, TVA. Let's get around the league before we get you out of here, of course. We want your thoughts for Thursday. Still trying to figure out what we're going to do with that show. Going to try to get Taylor Twellman, some other folks here. Dave will be on site. We shall see. 401-2060 MLS is the Hot Take Hotline. Extra time at MLSsoccer.com. If you have predictions, offbeat, just on the game, whatever, takes, questions, hit us up. We'll also talk sort of big picture on that. Legacy, what it will mean if either side win, what it will mean if they lose. So look out for that. Let's go around the league. I'm just going to list news just to catch people up. And if you think there's something interesting or you want to say something, please just jump in and do. This is done. Houston Dynamo head coach Tab Ramos has added to his staff Omid Namazi is former U20 men's national team assistant coach, and he was in Denmark, right, at the American-owned club. He was their head coach for like a hot second, and this was obviously the opportunity that brought him back. And then Pablo Mastroeni. Those are the assistants for Tab Ramos on his staff. Anybody?
Those are both people that know about soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, Tab Ramos is getting a former MLS head coach.
Yeah, smart to have
Mastroeni.
a guy. It's smart to have a guy like that as your number two.
Feels like these are more defensive-minded hires by Tab.
Yeah, and they're guys he knows. And Tab's job in Houston isn't just to put a team on the field that wins. I think they're kind of wanting a cultural change from him in terms of how they play, in terms of what they do, because it's a ton of talent in the Houston area, in terms of, integrating the academy and the USL team, which has been purely ornamental to this point, up into the first team. So I think it makes sense for him to get guys that he knows and he trusts, and he has a long history with both of them. And I hope that the team he puts on the field next year plays like the US U20 team played in this most recent Youth World Cup, because in the past, I think Tab's teams have been a little bit too pragmatic for my taste, but this team was about using the ball, and they did it well.
All right, some more news for you here. New England signed Alex Butner, left back, former Man U player, TAM deal per reports. No Edgar Castillo for them, so Butner will fill in. Anybody? No? Okay. Probably one to. We'll talk about that one later. Also done. Per Athletic reporting, God, we can't stop talking about them. Minnesota United front office shuffles. Assistant coach Mark Watson is now the technical director. Adrian Heath has more say in player decisions, and Manny Lagos will be reassigned, more academy USL side.
Yeah, I think this is for the club going forward. You had a 3-year plan. 3 years are up. What's the future mean? And this kind of gets you more in line with what's your coach's vision of how his team plays, now bringing in the exact personnel that fits that, rather than Manny Lagos' decisions and Heath's kind of clashing. And for Manny Lagos, he built the USL/NASL, whatever structure that became the MLS team. He's a legend in the area, and so to have him be the one going into your big clubs and saying, we want to be a part of academy development here, and also building out a USL structure, I think makes sense for a guy still connected, but it allows your soccer side to maybe be a bit more fluent vertically.
Let's just do this. Do we think that this was legitimately logic-based, or was this Machiavellian and by somewhere in that group? Is it political or soccer?
I think every single move, always, everywhere, has significant political aspects. Adrian Heath, it seemed pretty clear based on the way he spoke in the media over the last couple of years that he wanted more control over which players were being signed, and he was unhappy, let's say, at times about the players that were signed. But now the flip side of that is, now it's very clear that he is able to exert more influence. So you better get some signings right.
Yeah. Remember when he said my players sucked?
Basically, yes. Yes. So that's the way I read it. That's
I feel like
the way
we don't talk about that enough. Those times when the coaches are like, what do you want me to do? These guys out there suck.
Yeah, well, I think we did talk about that with Anthony Hudson.
Academy Award for that.
Yeah. Here's a good rumor, Minnesota United related. Darwin Quintero to the Dynamo. We had speculated, and it's not really speculation when it's grounded in some reality here, that Darwin may have run his course in the Twin Cities. Does he fit with the Dynamo? You would have, let's just imagine.
Hell yeah.
Let's just imagine.
Hell yeah.
Mauro Manotas up top. Darwin Quintero on the left.
Hell yeah.
Elise on the right, doing Pantarita things.
And Tomas Martinez, who now doesn't have to be a 10, which he's not, on the field.
Yes.
Or not on the field, I think is the point.
Oh, no, at the 10.
No, I don't
Maybe at
think
the
so.
10. Maybe at the 10. Maybe in the
You've
3-man
already got
midfield.
your 4 attackers.
I don't think
Who's your
Kyoto's
fourth?
on the team next year.
Who's not on the team?
Kyoto.
Oh, we're calling him
The
out.
left
Okay.
Yeah, I think probably, yeah. He's been saying he wants to leave.
Yeah.
Good move for the Dynamo? Should it happen?
So if they play him as a winger, which is what I think they should do, because Tab's going to play a 4-3-3. You can't play him in midfield. It's interesting. They have in Lundqvist a more attacking left back. On the right side, Bizama is much more of a defensive guy. So you're maybe looking at playing Darwin as a right winger. I'm not sure it's a perfect fit, but he's certainly a talent upgrade over some of the guys on that team. Like they needed a difference maker.
He needed a new. It seems he needs a new environment.
He was not going to stay. He was not.
Adrian Heath. Going back to it, Adrian Heath. If he has more power in that front office to make decisions, he made his decision pretty clear when it came to Darwin Quintero and his place on Minnesota United. Now, does that mean Minnesota United are under pressure? And technical director Mark Watson reportedly to go sign a big attacking players because
because they already did.
Who?
They signed Chacon. They have Kevin Molino, who's clearly his guy.
Yep.
Is it enough though?
Chacon's on like 900,000 plus a transfer.
Yeah, I know, but he's young. I'm talking more goal scoring.
So my assumption is this. This move is also partially related to some other DPs that have been signed, that Angelo Rodriguez is not with the team next year, and that the unit looks more like what he wants from the forward back, and you're getting more goals out of center forward. That would be my assumption for what Minnesota ends up doing. And so I don't think they're going to splash big on a Quintero replacement. I think Chacon was that, as well as we have enough veterans and pieces to win in Major League Soccer while he figures it out.
By the way, if we didn't say it on this show, Michael Boxall and Iko Para signed contract extensions. We're probably going to end it on this one. It's a rumbling, I'll call it. Oscar Pareja.
Wait, we can't. We have two after this that we just have to at least mention.
Okay. Oscar Pareja to Orlando City. JD in Orlando wanted to know what we thought of this one. There are rumors out there. Luis Muzzi is the ex-FC Dallas GM who's now running the soccer side there in Orlando. Would this be a good move for Orlando? Would it be a good move for Oscar, who I believe has Tijuana in a Gia position right now, but they just lost 3-0 at the weekend. Like, it's up and down.
Tijuana's been through 9 coaches in 7 years.
Yes, it would be a good coach. Oscar Pareja is in this group of coaches that I do think you could give almost any roster in the league, and they would figure out how to get them to the playoffs. He knows how to work with a group. The weird thing is JT talks about him being an attack-minded offensive coach. I would not say that. Those Dallas teams the last 3 years were not particularly attack-minded. The Oscar Pareja I knew in Dallas was. He was very pro using the ball. He did not turn out to be that in Dallas, but this would be a good hire for Orlando. I thought Jason Christ is a good hire though too. So who knows what's good in Orlando?
But for Pareja,
anything better than what they've been doing.
So for Pareja, he's a big culture guy. He changes the way people feel. He talks about having family and belief from the top down at a club. Right now, Orlando City is nothing. There's nothing that it gravitates around. There's no single person. There's no single player. There's no identity. So Oscar Pareja will bring all of that up front. And to Bobby's point, he has a low floor because teams want to fight for him. He believes in players and they believe in him. They want to get it done. They don't want to fail for him. All of those things. Is he going to turn them into the next LAFC? Probably not, but they've never made the postseason. So starting at what Oscar Pareja can bring is probably a pretty good starting point for them. And similar to what you said with Houston, talent-rich area. I mean, Inter Miami is locking in on Miami. The rest of Florida is yours. Oscar Pareja is a good guy to start building out the recruitment in academies, which is he pitches to families. Let your child be a part of this. I will take care of them. They will be looked after. And that's one of the big things he did at FC Dallas.
We have very little time remaining. And
we got to say.
Yeah, I've been told, which one you point out? I've been told we can't go past 60 minutes.
Okay,
I've been making executive decisions of late.
Rumor that Javier Mascherano is going to Inter Miami, which would be hilarious, but also dope.
Amazing.
And to play center back. And Juan Quintero to MLS, which will not happen because it refuses to happen. But if it does, I'm getting a Juan Quintero tattoo on my back.
What's his fitness level these days?
It's always been about 20 minutes. Yeah.
How about this? What do you guys think of Landon Donovan's USL Championship team? San Diego Loyal SC. Crest and name.
The crest is cool.
The crest is awesome.
Crest is 100
I love
100.
the crest.
Yeah.
The colors, the sunset, and the water, and loyal.
Our producer
What?
Anders said
What
it
does
might
that even mean?
It might be a nod to the former San Diego Chargers about being loyal to the city.
We're not leaving.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know what it means.
Name, but
Seems
I don't know much else about San Diego.
Weird. It's a weird name, right?
Yeah,
Weird
it feels weird. We'll see how it. The Loyals are their, I believe their supporters group is what it is. They're coming in the USL Championship next year. Do we have Who's by the way, congratulations to
Final
the Hamilton Forge.
Yeah, and Final
of
Four
the
in
Canadian
USL.
Premier League, the first ever champion.
Yeah, Real Monarchs knocked off Phoenix.
That was huge.
Rising, which was the huge favorites, El Paso,
And North Carolina.
and then
North Carolina?
No.
WSL?
oh yes, we already talked about that week.
Oh, good.
But Indianapolis is going to host Louisville City, who knocked off the number 1 seed in the East in the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
Okay. Playoff
So
soccer.
that's what happens when he wears your jersey.
Audi 2019. Oh, wow. Oof. Yeah, they all lost. Audi 2019 almost got playoffs. The climax. Seattle Sounders, Toronto FC, Sunday, ABC, Univision, TUDN, TSN, TVAS, Matchday Central on Friday and Saturday at 4 p.m. We also have pre- and post-game shows. And, of course, we will be back here on Thursday to talk more about this. Hit us up. We'll see you then.